This morning, there was a doctor reporting her homework. It was quite good. She saw her mind flowing to many parts in her body. She had been practicing for 5 years. It took her 5 years to be able to see that. If we cannot see how the mind works, then just intend to see the mind at the hair, at the ears, at the shoulder, change places again and again, but not so quickly. When you see it clearly at a certain point, then you change to another point. When you can perceive the object clearly, then you intend to change the place to observe. So it took her 5 years to be able to see when her mind moves. But she still cannot see when the mind moves into thought. So I said, no hurry. Yes. To be able to see the mind moves. In terms of theory, it's not quite right because, in fact, the mind arises and ceases. But what we perceive, what we can perceive, we perceive the mind as if it moves from place to places. But in fact, the mind arises and ceases all the time. And then she said sometimes she has to intentionally observe it, but sometimes she can see it without intention. I said that was correct because the awakened mind, the joyful awakened knower mind, there are two kinds. First, sometimes you have to intend to make it happen. And secondly, it can happen without intention. The wholesome mind or unwholesome mind are also like this. Like some wholesome mind, we have to intend to create it, but sometimes it can happen on its own. For example, like for some person, some people they want to go to a temple to listen to Dhamma by themselves. No one has to like persuade them. But for some person, they have to be persuaded again and again to come to the temple to listen to Dhamma talk. The wholesome kind of mind that arises on its own is the powerful mind. But the wholesome mind that we need to intend to make it happen, we have to like fabricate it, to create it. In the same way, the unwholesome mind, some kind of unwholesome mind, we have to create it. And some kind of unwholesome mind, it arises on its own. For example, like two persons, they are chided. The first person, when he is criticized, he got mad already. He got mad right away and hurt the other person right away. but for the other person, they have to be criticized for 3 days to get angry. So when we practice, when we see that some mind, it moves on itself and we can see it unintentionally, but sometimes we have to intend to see it. That's normal. But later on, you can see it unintentionally. But she said she cannot see the mind that moved into thought. Luangpu said, allow it to be lost in thought and then know that the mind is lost in thought. And the doctor said she has to be lost in thought for a long time before she recognizes it. Luangpu said it's okay. Keep observing it, and if the mind can remember the states well, because it sees this state often. At first, the mind cannot really remember this state. So we have to be patient. We have to practice to be aware when the mind is lost in thought. And then later on, we will be able to recognize it quicker and quicker because the mind starts to remember the state of being lost in thought. The thing that makes the mindfulness to arise is the mind that can remember the state. So to be able to remember the state, we have to see it again and again. So that's why we have to practice to know the minds often, to know the body often, to know the feeling often. Know this thing often, and then mindfulness will arise. As we keep practicing in this way, and the mind can remember these states, and so the mindfulness will arise on its own. There are so many kinds of states. There are 18 kinds of form state. And for formless state, there are 52 kinds of non-form states. The mind arises one by one. And we don't have to know all kinds of states. Just know the states that arise often. When the mind can remember those states, mindfulness will arise on its own. When I was practicing observing these states, I was 29 back then. It was BE 2525. Before then, since BE 2502 and before BE 2525, I could only do the calmness samadhi, but I couldn't progress. When I saw Venerable June, he gave me advice to further my practice. He told me to observe the mind, but I didn't know where the mind was and how to observe the mind. I didn't know anything. And I was a little anxious. I didn't know how to observe the mind. I didn't know what to use to observe the mind. I didn't know where the mind was. When I was panicked, remember this principle. When we don't know what to do, just do samatha or calmness meditation. So when I was panicked, I didn't know how to observe the mind. What should I do? I didn't overthink. I wasn't very anxious, so I breathe in, breathe out, though, and when the mind got calm, then wisdom kind of arise, and it just occurred to me that the mind must be within the body. And then I was wonder, where is the mind within this body? Where was the mind within this body? So I observed from head to toe and toe back to head over and over, but I couldn't find the mind. Back then, the meditation master, they didn't tell you much. They just taught you a little, and then you have to be patient to practice, and then go to report them your homework, and then they will give you further advice. So back then, as I didn't know what was how to do it correctly, so I made the mind still. I was a hot-tempered person. I got angry easily. So the state that arises often was anger. But it's not the same for everyone. Some people are greedy. For greedy people, they have a lot of raga, or like sensual pleasure craving. So when they have desire, just know it. As for me, I was a person who got angry easily. So when I got angry, I just know it over and over. At first, I had to be very angry to be able to know it. But later on, when I got angry, I could see it quickly, and then later on, even just a little irritation, I could see it. So the mind could see more and more subtle state as you keep practicing. So for me, when the mind got angry, I know it. So for you, if you are an angry person, then just observe when you are angry. But for those who are greedy, just observe when greed arises. And for those who has deluded mind, just observe when the mind is restless. Allow the state to arise and then know it. This is the principle for mind observation. At first, it will take time for you to be able to see it. And as time goes by, when the mind begin to remember the states, you can recognize it sooner and sooner. When I was a layperson, I could see the subtle level of angry. There was one day that I was in a room, and then when I got out of the room and the sunlight contact my eyes, and then I saw that slight irritation that arose. But in the beginning, it had to be like big anger to be for me to be able to see it. So we have to keep in mind that we have to practice to observe our mind, and when our mind is lost in thought, then mindfulness will arise on its own. When the mindfulness arises on its own, the mind becomes empty. When the mind is empty, there are many kinds of emptiness. Nibbana is one kind of emptiness. Nibbana state is the great voidness.
ใจร้อนไม่พิจารณาหลักการปฏิบัติที่พระพุทธเจ้าสอนให้ดี
But if you try to perceive the result quickly, they don't understand how to practice correctly, and they try to make their mind empty. They try not to think, and they think that is good. But that kind of practice even existed before the Buddha. But they cannot really wash away the defilements, their defilements. There are some disciples of Venerable June who had this kind of misunderstanding and teach their disciple to make their mind empty, saying that is Nibbana, but that is definitely not Nibbana. That kind of Nibbana is like a Nibbana of Brahma God. It's not the genuine Nibbana. We need to cultivate our morality, samadhi, and wisdom to be perfect, and then we can realize the liberation and realize the genuine emptiness. Some people, they cannot do jhana. When I was practicing back then, when I was learning, I read Zen book, and then my mind became some kind of strange emptiness. It was bright and empty. But as I keep practicing, I found out that that was not the right kind of emptiness. That wasn't right. It was just some kind of insight that you got from reading. So some people, they practice not thinking to experience the emptiness. And some people, they practice thinking, but thinking like Zen, like in the Zen way, to experience emptiness. We need to practice and progress. We need to keep the precepts every day, practice for calmness, and practice for the mind to be truly rooted in awareness. For the mind to detach itself from phenomena and to be the observer, for the mind that is truly rooted in awareness, the separate knower mind. To cultivate in the process of wisdom cultivation, there is a process when because this exists, so that exists. If we can remember the states well, then the right mindfulness will arise. If we cultivate the right mindfulness a lot, then the right samadhi will arise. So the cause of the right samadhi is the right mindfulness. Calmness is also one kind of samadhi. The mind is calm and attached to a certain object. Is it good? It's good because it allows the mind to gain strength. Because you need this kind of strength to cultivate wisdom. Otherwise, you will experience the defilements of insight. So we need to allow the mind to stay with one meditation object that your mind is content to be with, but not like playing cards or you are happy but the mind is not calm. The mind is not calm. It keeps thinking like what's going on next, what will come next. So if we want the mind to be calm, then just choose the meditation object that the mind is calm and content to be with. As for me, I choose the mindfulness of breathing along with the Buddha recitation. And when the mind is content, it's like the mind get enough rest in the same way as the body get enough rest, so they are ready to work. So before we do vipassana, we have to develop another kind of samadhi, the kind of samadhi that the mind detach itself from phenomena, the mind that is truly rooted in awareness. It separates itself from other phenomena, and this rooted in awareness mind arises from right samadhi. So we need to choose our meditation object. Should it be a form object or form a non-form object? The Buddha already gave us these meditation objects for us to practice with. So we need to develop mindfulness first. When we have mindfulness, the mind will be rooted in awareness. When the mind is rooted in awareness, then you can cultivate wisdom. In the Tipikatha, it also talks about the contemplation on ugliness or compulsiveness. And those who only study theory, they just said that this is only for samatha. So, but some kind of meditation, like mindfulness of breathing, we can use it for both samatha and vipassana. And contemplation on the body, we can also use it for both samatha and vipassana. So just use the meditation object that you are comfortable to practice with. If you are good at observing the body, then use the body. If you are good at observing the mind, then use the mind. Meditation master taught us that if you can observe the mind, then observe the mind. If you cannot observe the mind, then observe the body. Why do they teach that? Because observing the mind is the shortcut for liberation. Why so? Because defilement arises at the mind. Wholesome states arise at the mind. Unwholesome states arise at the mind. So observe the mind, then we can understand the mind. There are two kinds of understanding of the mind. First, we understand that the mind is not us. And the higher level, the highest level, we understand that the mind is suffering entity. When a mind is rooted in awareness, we can see that the body is not me. We can see that feeling is not me. When the mind is rooted in awareness, we can see that perception is not me. When the mind is rooted, the mind recognizes mental formations like anger, greed, delusion, we can see that those formations are not me, are not mine. But the mind per se is still me. We feel that the observer, the mind, the knower mind is me. But the body is just like a robot, just the elements with the elements going in and out. The day that there is no elements going in and out is the day you die. Seeing the body is not me, but you still perceive that the mind is me. The mind is a very subtle entity and so difficult to learn and understand. But if we can understand it, we will progress quickly. The day we can perceive that the mind is not me is the day that you can perceive that the 5 aggregates are not me. The body, the feeling, the mind, the formation, and the consciousness are not me. These 5 aggregates manifest because of the mind. Consciousness is the cause of name and form. So the mind in and of itself is the cause of name and form. If we can kill the ringleader, if we can wash away the wrong view that the mind is me, that is the wisdom of the stream entry. For us, just observe the mind. If we can see that the body is not me, it's like we peel off the banana leaves one by one. Then you're gonna see that in the center there is nothing for you to observe. But actually it's just the entity that senses objects. So keep practicing until you see that the mind is not me. It arises for its causes. When eyes perceive form, mind arises. When ears perceive sound, mind arises. Consciousness at the eyes, at the ears, they are just the consciousness at the eyes, the ears. The mind and consciousness are the same thing, but we call it differently according to their duties. If they perform this duty, we call it this name, this term. So keep observing. At first, to see the mind, we cannot see it. It's not easy to see the mind because the mind takes no form. It arises and ceases quickly. So don't be frightened or panic if you cannot observe the mind. Just know that the mind arises along with the mind concomitant. When the mind happy, just know it. When the mind suffers, just know it. Later on, you can see even more subtle state. When your mind is happy, you're gonna see that the greed seeps in. When the mind is not happy, you can see that suffering seeps in. So when the mind suffers, you can see that anger seeps in and then you don't like it. And when you get into a really, really subtle practice, you're gonna see that the mind arises, the mind or the consciousness arises at the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. So at first you have to observe the mind that arises, that co-arises with the mind concomitant. When the mind angry, just know it. When the mind is not angry, just know it. When the mind is restless, just know it. When the mind is not restless, just know it. So keep observing it in this way. And then later on, you're gonna see that when the mind is happy, actually the mind is not happy. Happiness is one entity and the mind is another entity. When we feel that our mind suffers, when we are good at observing the mind, we're gonna see that suffering is one entity, and the mind that sees the suffering is another entity. So in Buddhism, we use vipachaviti or separating method to separate things. So we separate the body from the mind, and we separate the feelings from the mind. We separate the perception from the mind. We separate the mental formation, angry, greed, delusion from the mind. We don't have to separate everything. Don't rush. When the mind is rooted in awareness, these things will separate out on their own. Don't try to separate them intentionally. I used to did it incorrectly before. I used to separate my mind out and put it above, and then I see the body underneath. But soon they will reunite. So we need to allow them to separate out via our wisdom and mindfulness. We're gonna see that the perception, our memory, like remember the sound, the taste, the story, and the mind are not the same entity. The mental formation, wholesome states, unwholesome states, like rapture or bliss. Bliss is another one kind of mental formation. Happiness is not the mind, is the thing that is known by the mind. Greed, anger, delusions are not the mind, they are the things that are known by the mind. When we can observe the mind, we can see the mind arises and ceases at the sense doors. But now we cannot see them in this way, so we need to practice. The lessons for you to practice is to intend to observe the mind at the different parts of your body, like observe the mind at your hair until your perception is at your hair, and then move it to your nose until you can perceive the nose clearly, and then change it to other part. And later on, when your perception is prominent at each part, you can see it on your own. Later on, when the mind moves towards your eyes, you will be able to see it. When the mind go to your eyes, ears, nose, tongue, you will be able to see it. The hardest thing to see is when the mind is moved towards the thought. The mind moves to see, arises and ceases. The mind moves to listen, arises and ceases. The mind that goes to perceive tactile sensation arises and ceases. The mind that perceives thoughts arises and ceases. Every kind of mind arises and ceases. The day that the mind understands that every mind arises and ceases on its own, it has to be on its own, not us think about it. is the day that you that you are the stream enterer. There is no you anywhere. The sense of self arises from the wrong view, wrong perception. It is called vipalat or wrong perception. สัญญาวิปลาส the wrong perception. Citta vipalat is the wrong view. And it results in the wrong opinion that there is a sense of self, but in fact there is no such thing as the self. At first we think this body is me, the mind is me, but then later on, as you keep practicing, until the day that you can see the mind arises and ceases at the sense doors. At first, you can really see that you perceive the mind as one entity wandering here and there. But then later on, you will be able to see that the mind arises at the eye and ceases. The mind arises at the ear and ceases. You will see that the mind is impermanent. It arises and ceases here and there. You're gonna see that the mind is non-self, is not under our control. So keep practicing. In the beginning, do the easy thing. Right now, you are listening to my Dhamma talk. While I'm giving Dhamma talk, I don't think what I'm gonna teach in advance. The Dhamma talk flows out of my mind. Is this the natural process? And then you will gain samadhi easily. This is normal. When you are near angry person, you will feel irritated easily. So when you are near the person with samadhi, you will have samadhi easily. Can you feel your body, that your body is not me? Just keep observing gradually. The mind must be rooted in awareness first. When the mindfulness recognizes the body, you're going to see that the body is not me. When the mind recognizes happiness and suffering, you're going to see that happiness and suffering is not me. When the mind perceives anger, greed, delusion, you're going to see that they are not me. It might seem difficult, but when you can do it, it's not difficult. Teacher like to argue this with me. He always told me that it was difficult, but when he gives Dhamma talk, he will tell everyone that it's easy. So it's difficult and it's also easy. So when you are able to practice, you don't have to do anything. The mind is awakened on its own. Number one, I do walking meditation for 1 to 2 hours a day. While walking, I listen to your Dhamma talks leading the practice. During the day, I tend to stay lost in thought for long periods and feel that my practice is not making progress. I would like to ask for further advice. You're progressing. You have to be careful. Don't try to preserve your mind to be still. Don't try to control your mind to be still. Can you feel that your mind right now is not normal? You are controlling it to be still. So right now you cannot see the mental formation because you are fabricating the mind. You control the mind. You are fabricating the mind right now. Can you feel? If you can see it, that's good. Then you can pass this state, but then you will get stuck at another state. Number 2, I listen to Luangpu's Dhamma talks and practice by maintaining self-awareness, sits in meditation and remains aware of emotions. Lately, I'm experiencing a great deal of suffering while observing and remaining aware of the suffering. I see that it passes away and then arises again, repeating in a continuous cycle. Sometimes I feel tired of observing and I just want it to go away. Please offer a skillful strategy or advice. Luangpu says that your problem is your desire for it to go away. Just know it with a neutral mind. This desire fools you. It makes your mind not neutral. When your mind is not neutral, wisdom cannot arise. When suffering arises, just keep observing it again and again. Suffering and the mind are not the same entity. You want it to go away, just know the desire. Observe in this way. Don't hate that suffering. The Buddha taught us to know the suffering. He didn't teach us to abandon the suffering. How to observe it? Observe it with the mind that is rooted in awareness and neutral. Don't hate it. You're gonna see that suffering is just like the cloud coming, covering the moon. It's just some things that comes and goes. In the same way, happiness comes and goes. But by nature, we hate suffering and loves happiness. But in fact, they are the same in the way that they arises and ceases. They come and go. Number 3, I practice by observing the 8 precepts at home and cultivate mindfulness from waking up until falling asleep, using the mind as a home for awareness. I alternate between walking and sitting meditation every day for 3 to 8 hours. When tired, I practice in a lying down posture, watching the body move and watching the mind work. Simply knowing, simply observing. The mind sees the mind transmitting and teaching Dhamma, but I'm still struggling with calmness meditation. Please offer your guidance. Your practice is good, but don't preserve the mind. Don't control the mind. It's a little surreal. Can you feel it? Like this. I make it for you to see. Can you feel there's a weight, there's tightness inside? When you practice and it's tight, it means that you have intention. You have desire, intention, intend to see, intend to be good. Just know it. Just be aware of it. The intention to be good is a kind of mental formation, a kind of fabrication. If we are not aware of it, we don't know that it's a kind of fabrication, then we are fooled by it. We fall under its influence. So when you have desire to be good, just know it. Now you're controlling it, so the mind is tight. Number 4, I practice by chanting and meditating for about 30 to 60 minutes every night before bed, listening to your Dhamma talks on YouTube and listening on the Buddhas upon waking up. Currently, when anger arises, I'm aware of it and can catch myself in time to stop saying harmful things. However, there is still some stress and anxiety regarding that at times. But I can recognize it and no longer get bogged down in stressful emotions like before. I would like to ask for your advice. Your practice is good. When anger arises, just know it. When you feel anxious, just know it. You feel that anxiety and the mind are different entities. Just keep observing it gradually. again and again. Anxiety arises from the mind that knows. The mind in and of itself is not anxious. Anxiety is not the mind. Your practice is good. Separate each aggregates gradually, slowly. Don't intend to separate them out. Just recognize that they are not the same thing. Anxiety is just the known thing. Just contemplate in this way, it's enough. Don't try to pull things apart. Otherwise, you will be even more anxious. As for the part that you have that you just have to think like what you're gonna do about it. Some people, when they have debt, but they have assets, then you have to sell some part, so sacrifice some part of your assets, then you can cure your debt. Some people, they just do the bad things, they just cheat. That is not good. Number 5, the mind sees that the breath and restless thoughts are not the mind. It simply observes these alternatingly, and after observing, it returns to the breath. At times, when I'm focused, my breath feels tight. Once awareness returns, I see delusion. When observing the mind as the detached witness, it feels light and airy. Body, feelings, and thoughts are seen as non-self. Conversely, when intentionally directing the mind to merge or cling, the sense of self returns, similar to when getting lost in thought in daily life. Is the mind stuck in tranquility or a particular state? Luangpu says, right now you are stuck. Where is number 5? Right now you are trying to control your mind. Can you see it? Don't control the mind. Just know it as it is. If we control the mind will be tight. It will be, just know it without interfering. There will be no weight in the mind. Right now you are controlling. Stay with your meditation object. Observe your body. Can you feel that your body is sitting? Don't do like that. Now you're lost. The mind just now is lost. To observe the body, the mind like sinks in. Wake up, open your eyes. Smile sweetly, smile. The mind right now is better than before. Can you feel it? The good mind is the mind like this, not the mind that is dull. Don't practice for the mind to be dull. Practice for the mind to wake up, to have awareness. Don't incline the mind to be dull, to be drowsy. Right now you're lost in thought. Smile sweetly. Can you feel that now your mind is tight? Keep observing it. When we have intention, it's tight. Number 6. I do walking meditation for an hour a day, and after that, sit and observe in and out breath during free time throughout the day. I observe anger starting as a hot sensation in the middle of the chest. Once recognized, it passes away. I also observe irritability, but after recognizing it, it does not go away because there is still desire present. May I present my practice for you to see? Luangpu says, now your mind is not truly rooted in awareness. Your practice is actually good. Number 7. Hold on. Number 6, now it's not correct. Don't allow the mind to be drowsy. The mind must be awakened, not drowsy. Move your body, turn left and right. Can you feel that when you move your head, it came out? The mind must be like this. Don't incline the mind to be drowsy. That's not good. Number 7. I practice by reciting Bud on the in-breath and Do on the out-breath while maintaining awareness of the mind. When a bright light arises, I use the light as the new meditation object instead. I have previously seen the state where the mind becomes firmly established as the observer and then passes away on its own, seeing only ultimate reality or paramattha arising. The practice continuously goes through cycles of progress and decline, and maintaining mindfulness in daily life remains difficult. Luangpu says, don't incline the mind to be drowsy. Don't control the mind to be drowsy, to be dull. Allow it to move naturally. Now it's too drowsy. The mind must be like this. Don't intend to make the mind like that. Now it's tight. Just merely know it passively without interfering. Don't pretend to know passively. You pretend to know in a dull way. That's not right. Keep practicing. Your practice is okay. Learn yourself. Yes, your mind must be like this. That is the joyful awakened knower, not the dull one. The mind like this, when mindfulness recognizes anything, just keep observing it. There is no me. Now it's incorrect. Now it's wrong. You make the mind drowsy. You incline your mind to be dull. You have to be awakened, not dull. Yes, the mind right now is correct, the normal mind. Number 8. Luangpu once told me that my weakness was my thought, so I use thought itself for practice. Whenever a thought arises, I know it. Whenever I get lost in thought, I know it. I have been practicing this way for 1 year, and now my mindfulness is beginning to catch up with my thoughts. When a thought arises, mindfulness recognizes it and the thought passes away. Sometimes I see thoughts creating a sense of self and catch it in time. Other times I see the sense of self separating. Nowadays I live more freedom and remain aware in my daily life. Luangpu says, keep going, your practice is good. That's all for today.